Darkness thickened over the school campus of Evergreen High in the suburbs of Seattle. When the first student disappeared, shadows from ancient oaks stretched across the asphalt parking lot where a solitary bicycle stood, its chain still spinning from recent motion. No one noticed how the boy named Thomas vanished into thin air, leaving only the echo of footsteps in the void. In the morning, the police examined the scene but found only a backpack with notebooks, pages fluttering in the wind. The school continued to operate, but the atmosphere changed. Teachers locked classroom doors earlier than usual, and students walked in groups, glancing around. 3 days later, a girl from the senior class disappeared. She was walking down the hallway to her locker, and the surveillance cameras captured a moment. A figure flashed in the shadow, then the screen filled with interference. Her belongings remained untouched, the bag hanging open with a phone inside, its screen showing an unsaved message. The investigation began in earnest. Detectives from the local department searched basements and attics, where dust lay in layers, and old pipes hummed from drafts. They found forgotten rooms filled with broken furniture and yellowed posters from past decades. In one such room, they discovered scratches on the walls, as if someone had tried to escape, but no signs of a struggle. The disappearances multiplied. Another student vanished during lunch break in the cafeteria. The table with the tray remained untouched, the food cooling, and the chair pushed back, as if the body had simply dissolved. Parents gathered in rallies at the school gates, demanding closure, but the administration insisted on continuing classes, strengthening security. Cameras were installed everywhere, but the recordings again showed only interference at key moments. Suspicions fell on everyone. The physics teacher, known for his strange experiments, spent nights in the laboratory, where lamps flickered until dawn. His office was filled with wires and devices, flashing screens reflecting graphs unrelated to the school curriculum. The school principal, a woman with a stern expression, hid old documents about the building's renovation, which mentioned underground tunnels built in the 1940s for shelters. Students whispered in the hallways, but no one spoke aloud. A group of high school students decided to investigate on their own. They sneaked in at night through the back entrance, flashlights illuminating dusty corridors. In the basement, the air became heavier, the smell of mold mixed with something metallic. They found a door hidden behind cabinets, leading to a labyrinth of corridors under the school. The walls here were damp, drops of water trickled down the concrete, and shadows accumulated in the corners, seeming alive. One of them stepped further, and the floor creaked underfoot. Suddenly, the air trembled as if from vibration, and the figure disappeared into the darkness. The others retreated, but panic grew. They returned to the surface, but the school already seemed like a trap. The police expanded the search, involving specialists in underground structures. It turned out the tunnels connected to an abandoned factory nearby, where experiments with chemicals were conducted in the last century. Analyses showed traces of substances in the basement air hallucinogens, capable of causing illusions of disappearance. But this did not explain the real vanishings. Detectives dug deeper, studying the school's history. In the archives, they found records of similar incidents in the 1970s. Students disappeared, then returned with amnesia, muttering about shadows in the walls. Officially, it was attributed to teenage pranks, but now the connection became obvious. Another disappearance happened in the library. Books fell from the shelves, pages scattered, and the librarian's body dissolved in the air behind the counter. The cameras failed again, showing only static interference. The school was finally closed, evacuating everyone. Specialists in protective suits descended into the tunnels, equipped with sensors and cameras. They discovered hidden rooms where the walls were covered with strange symbols, resembling electrical circuit diagrams. In one room, they found equipment, generators emitting low-frequency waves capable of affecting perception. It turned out this was part of an old mind control project, forgotten after the Cold War. Someone had reactivated it, using the school as a testing ground. Suspicions fell on a former employee fired years ago but living nearby. The search led to the abandoned factory. There, in underground halls, they found the missing. They sat in a trance, connected to devices, screens showing loops of memories. The waves distorted reality, creating the illusion of disappearance while bodies were transported to hiding. The criminal, a former scientist, aimed to revive the project for personal gain, selling the technology on the black market. The police arrested him at the moment he was setting up a new device. The missing returned, but with altered consciousness, memories erased, dreams filled with shadows. The school reopened a month later, but the corridors seemed emptier. The tunnels were walled up, the equipment destroyed, but the echo of events remained in the walls. The town tried to forget, but every rustle in the darkness reminded of the fragility of reality. Students returned to lessons, but glances slid to the corners where shadows could hide more than seemed. The administration strengthened security measures, installing motion sensors and psychologists for support. Parents watched children more strictly, and nights became times of vigilance. Time passed, and new generations of students heard the stories as legends. But in the basements, behind the walled-up doors, a faint hum sometimes sounded, as if the machine awaited activation. No one risked checking, preferring to ignore. The school stood as before, but its foundation held secrets ready to break free at any moment. The investigation revealed a network. The scientists did not act alone. Connections led to corporations interested in neurotechnologies. The FBI took the case under control, confiscating documents. The missing underwent therapy, gradually recalling fragments. Cold rooms, flashing lights, voices in the head. Some adapted, others left the school forever. The community united, organizing patrols and safety seminars. Media covered the events, turning the school into a symbol of hidden experiment dangers. The government promised inspections of old facilities, but bureaucracy slowed the process. In the end, Evergreen High became an example of resilience, but scars remained. Years later, when the wind rustled the oak leaves, old-timers recalled those days. Shadows in the parking lot seemed longer, and no one left bicycles unattended. Reality returned, but with a shade of suspicion, reminding that disappearances could repeat in any darkness. Darkness settled over the schoolyard of Shadow High in a forgotten corner of New England. As the first shadow of doubt slipped through the hallways, the autumn wind stirred fallen leaves against the windows, while inside, in the literature classroom, Miss Anna Wolf, the teenager's beloved teacher, stood at the blackboard, her face contorted into a strange grimace. Her eyes, once soft and full of warmth, now burned with a reddish gleam like embers in a dying fire. And her skin appeared pale and cracked, like an old wax mask. The teenagers noticed the changes immediately. A group of four: a boy with a sharp gaze, a girl with a notebook, an athlete, and an artist exchanged glances during the lesson. Miss Wolf moved jerkily, her fingers had elongated, her nails had sharpened, and her voice echoed through the room, skipping words and distorting quotes from books. She didn't react to questions, simply staring into space, and the air around her filled with the scent of dampness and rot. The oddities multiplied. In the cafeteria, she chewed on raw meat from a bag, ignoring the stares, while her shadow on the wall writhed independently of the overhead lights. The teenagers began to observe. After classes, she would retreat to the school basement, where dusty corridors led to a forgotten wing built a century ago on the site of an old cemetery. CCTV cameras flickered with static when she passed, and the recording showed a figure with an elongated silhouette that looked anything but human. The investigation began in secret. The teenagers sneaked into the school at night, their flashlights illuminating cobwebs and cracks in the walls. In Miss Wolf's office, they found torn book pages covered in black stains and a mirror where the reflection did not match. Reality grinned while her face remained motionless. Inside a desk drawer lay an amulet with ancient symbols, pulsating with a cold light. That night, they followed her into the forest behind the school, where fog obscured the paths. She entered a cave hidden by tree roots, and there, in the dim light, she shed her skin like a snake. Underneath, a double was revealed, a creature with gaunt hands, teeth protruding from its maw, and eyes filled with darkness. The real Miss Wolf lay in the corner, emaciated, with chains on her wrists, her body covered in claw scars. The double turned out to be an ancient entity awakened from legends about doppelgangers, shadow copies that steal lives. It had swapped places with the teacher during a walk in the woods, feeding on her memories to infiltrate the school and hunt the students, draining their energy through fear. Shadows in the hallways came alive, whispering without words, and disappearances began. First personal items, then footprints leading into the basement. The teenagers did not back down. They gathered evidence, photos from the cave and scraps of the double skin found in the office. In the library, they unearthed old tomes on banishment rituals where the symbols matched the amulet. By night, they returned to the cave, armed with salt and mirrors to reflect the true form. The double snarled, its body writhing in the shadows, but the ritual weakened it. The light of the flashlights and the symbols on the ground forced the creature to retreat, dissolving into a haze. The real Miss Wolf regained consciousness, but with memories of nightmares. The school closed for a week, the basement was walled up, and the forest was cordoned off. The teenagers became guardians, checking the shadows in the corners. The double was gone, but the echo of its presence remained. Mirrors sometimes flickered, showing strange faces, and the nights at the school were filled with rustling sounds. The town tried to forget, but at Shadow High, students now glanced back at their reflections, knowing that the doubles could return. Shadows lengthened, and beloved faces aroused suspicion. Reality blended with horror, a reminder of the fragility of the human form.